everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Isegoluwa Tolulope Ogunleye Haya Adewusi. It's always an amazing time when I get into the kitchen and sharing some of my recipes with you. So today I'm gonna be cooking something that is wonderful. You can use it as an appetizer. You can, when you have visitors over, you can just serve this to them with a cold drink. But FYI, it is spicy. So today I'm making pepper gizzard. Actually, another time I'll make you gizzard, but today it's gonna be pepper gizzard. So today I'm gonna show you the ingredients we're gonna be using for this dish. It's not a lot. It's actually easy to make. You just have to know the right things to put together, and voila, you have an amazing dish. And a lot of people do not really know how to treat their gizzard because they look at it and like, what can I do with this? It's chewy, it's this. If you cook down your gizzard very well, you don't want it to be too soft because it will fall apart. But at the same time, if you cook it right, you would enjoy your gizzard. You don't have to throw it away. So of course today I'm gonna be using gizzard. So I'm using the chicken gizzard for this dish. This is chicken gizzard and no antibiotic. So all I do is I take it out of the pack and I rinse it out. I make sure that I check both sides to make sure that there is a lining on the inside and it's out. So I just want to make sure that it's fresh and it's good and it's pinkish. I do not want a dark looking gizzard. So I already went ahead and I boiled up the gizzard in my pressure cooker. So and I let it sit down with the steam to just kind of like cook it more. So all I used for this was my salt, my chicken bouillon, and a little bit of fresh thyme. That's it. I do not like to put so much seasoning in my gizzard because gizzard cannot really hold so much seasoning, and if you're not careful, you're gonna overpower it and it will be hard for you to kind of like adjust it while you cook. So I only use salt, chicken bouillon, and fresh thyme to kind of cook up, to boil up my gizzard. I'm gonna be putting it, sometimes you can decide to fry it, but I'm gonna just do like I'm gonna air dry it so that way it's still firm and it looks nice. So also for this I'm gonna be using my blended tomato based puree. So in here I have tomatoes, I have bell pepper, onions. That's all I have in here, well blended together with a little bit of habanero. It's not spicy at all. So I have a video that I did already on how I achieve my tomato puree. You can watch that so that you can know what to do with this. And also, if you notice, I love colors. I love colors. So for this pepper gizzard, I like to make it colorful. It has to look colorful and beautiful. I'm gonna be using some yellow pepper, orange pepper, red pepper, and green pepper. These are all sweet peppers, so that way it's gonna help us a little bit with all the heat that I'm gonna be putting in this pepper gizzard. And we're gonna be putting some jalapeno peppers in this. My friends laugh at me because I call it jalapeno peppers, but I'm gonna be putting some jalapeno pepper in these for garnishing. This is habanero pepper. I'm just gonna cut up about 2 or 3 to kind of give it that hotness. And I'm gonna be using some red onions. I love to use this in my pepper gizzard because it gives it that color and it gives it that flavor. It makes it mwah. Then for the seasoning of this dish, we're gonna be using some thyme leaves, some parsley leaves, some chicken bouillon, some pepper flakes. This is red crushed pepper flakes, some curry, my homemade ginger and garlic paste, and salt. You can always look at my previous video on how I achieved my homemade ginger garlic paste. And also I'm gonna be using some olive oil to fry the sauce that we're gonna be using for this pepper gizzard. Guys, this is Tolu Cooks, and let the fun begin.
Tell me who you know, who plans better, that dream come true. Yeah. She not there disappoint.
It's time to get cooking. So the first thing I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take this out of the cooker because I do not want it sitting in the water for long. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it into a sieve. That way it's not sitting in the water. And the pack that I showed you, this is 5 of it. This is 5 packs of it. So I'm gonna let that sit. I'll put it over to the back side. And I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my air fryer, and I'm gonna put it into the air fryer because I'm gonna let it stay in the air fryer for about 15 minutes because I want it firm. It's not gonna be fried, but it's gonna be more like you're baking it. So it's gonna air fry, and it's an healthy way to go about this. And if you don't have an air fryer and you still don't want to fry, just put it in the oven. Put it in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes under 325, so that way you get that crispiness. You do not want it burnt or dried or overly dried. And at the same time, if you just prefer to fry, throw it in your deep fryer and fry it to golden brown. Well, yeah, golden brown. So all I like to do is, my air fryer is clean, it's ready to go, because I want it to have a little bit of oil in it, so I drizzle just a little bit. Remember, it's in a sieve, so I go ahead and try and mix that together. So that's the oil I'm using for this. So I just shake that together to make sure that I have the oil all around it. Then I go ahead and I turn on my air fryer. I'm gonna put it on the air fry for 15 minutes under 350, and that is a step I'm gonna go for. And all I have to do at this point is throw this in here and just spread it out. And that's good to go. So at this point, I'm gonna go back to the sink. I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna go and start cutting up my peppers, because it's called pepper gizzard, right? I'm gonna cut up all those peppers and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do next. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead to the air fryer and I'm gonna go and try and turn the gizzard, because if I don't do that, it's gonna start browning too much on one side than the other. If you can see, I'm almost done cutting off my peppers. And me cutting the peppers, I'm only going for big chunks. I'm not doing anything little at all. And there is no particular shape and size to what you're doing. It's just what speaks to you. If you like to see, if you go to the Chinese restaurant, you know, when you go for the pepper steak, you'll see how they cut their peppers big. That's the same thing that we're going for, because you want your peppers to show. That's one of the reasons it's called pepper gizzard. And another thing is, if you're not comfortable with the heat, do not let the heat, like the habanero and the jalapeno peppers and this, do not let them be the reason why you did not enjoy your pepper gizzard. Just skip that. Skip the jalapeno peppers, skip the habanero peppers, and still make it according to everything else. If you notice, I am not deseeding this all the way, because I'm gonna use it with the seed in it, because even when I put in my red crushed pepper, it has seed in it. So, and I'm just gonna use about 3 of this. I do not need a whole lot, because I want to be able to enjoy out of this. If it has too much pepper, I won't be able to eat it. But this is one that I try to cut a little bit fine. If your skin is sensitive, please try and wear your gloves when you're doing this. Okay? You want to make sure you put on your gloves while you're doing this. And before I started cutting, all my peppers are washed. So I'm just gonna scoop that back into a plate. And the reason why I'm putting it back in a plate is because I'm still gonna run water on the ones on the big chunks. Once I do this way, I cannot run the water on it. I'm gonna lose all my peppers. Trust me, even with this 3, this is gonna be spicy. So for the last jalapeno pepper, is part of the garnishing. I'm just gonna cut them in rounds. So it's just gonna be rounds. If you can see, we just need to mix it a little bit so that the ones on the bottom can also get the heat. We're already getting our golden brown. So just a few left, and this looks like it is fried, and it is not. So I'm just gonna push it back in and it starts itself. So on my last onions, I'm just gonna use about half of it. So I just need about half of this. So I'm gonna come back to the sink and I'm gonna try and rinse this pepper well. And the air fryer is on, so which means our gizzard is ready. Now we're gonna go over to the stove because it's time for us to start frying the sauce that I'm gonna use to build up my pepper gizzard. I have my peppers cut up already. This is the peppers, this is the red, yellow, green, and red pepper with the onions and the jalapeno peppers. And right here, I have my habanero chopped up, and I also have my jalapeno pepper sliced, and in here I have some moon-shaped onions, and this is all I'm using with the puree. So let's go over to the stove and let's get cooking. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and put in some oil in my pot. So about half a cup. So I'm gonna let this oil warm up a little bit, and I'll go ahead and put in my onions, and I'm gonna start cooking, frying. Why is it that I'm always happy when I'm cooking? It looks as if food makes me happy. So I'm gonna go in and add in my onions. So with that already going, now I have here my blended tomato puree. And because it's tomato and bell pepper, it's gonna help us cut down some of the spiciness. And you can watch the video on how to achieve this. It's just majorly tomato, bell pepper, and onions blended together. You can decide to blend in your ginger and garlic into it, but I decided not to do it in this particular batch because I had my ginger and garlic paste already made. So I'm gonna add in the rest of it. So I'm using about 3 cups of pepper, of blended tomato puree pepper. So that's about 3 cups in there. FYI, my son is home today, so you can see him popping in and out. Don't worry, I'll cook your indomie, okay? Just give me some minutes. If we look in here, this has actually cooked down, so the water is out of it. So it's been cooking for about 10 minutes. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the hot pepper. I'm I'm gonna put in the hot pepper, and I'm gonna put in some of these jalapenos. Then you want to reduce your heat because it's gonna start splashing if you don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start. I prefer to use my half teaspoon. You can use one because sometimes I will use more than one. So I'm gonna use 2 half teaspoon in that. I'm gonna use 2 of the bouillon, but I do a full teaspoon. I'm gonna do half teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna do curry. I'm gonna do just half teaspoon. And this is my parsley. I'm gonna do 2 full. At this point, I'm gonna put in my ginger and garlic paste. This is an eating teaspoon, so I'm just gonna use 1 full one. I do not want it to be overpowering. Then I have my red crushed pepper. I'm gonna use 3 half teaspoons, which is gonna be 1 1/2. I got it out. And I'm gonna mix well. I'm gonna mix it well. I'm gonna cover it and let everything blend in properly for about 3 to 5 minutes because I want all the seasoning, I want it to be infused into the sauce, because after that it's pretty much done. So I'm gonna cover that and let it sit down there for like 3 to 5 minutes on the medium heat. Okay, that is actually looking good. If you look down here, it is not burning and there is no liquid in it. So that's the goal. We want to make sure that we cook out all the liquid. Then we're gonna get our gizzard out of the air fryer. If you use the oven or if you deep fried it, this is the time we go ahead and we put in our gizzard. We're gonna go ahead and put in my gizzard, and that's it. And I'm gonna start mixing it well. I want to mix it to the point that all the gizzard is covered in the sauce. See how beautiful this looks already without adding the finishing touches. So we're gonna let this simmer down for about 3 minutes just for the gizzard to suck in some of the sauce and the flavor. Then after that, we're gonna come back and add in our beautiful peppers. This, oh wow. Did you hear all that tantalizing? This is beautiful. Hey, I beg, concho. So now, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my beautiful peppers and onions. And it's time for us to mix everything well together. That is why it is called pepper gizzard. Oh, didn't you see the pepper? You can see it. They are beautiful. Food makes me happy. So my people, if you cannot do the spiciness of this dish, just keep using the habanero and the jalapeno peppers all together and you will still arrive at this amazing dish. But the only thing is, it's not gonna have that spiciness, but it is still gonna be very delicious. I cook it sometimes that way. If it's just for me alone, I skip all the peppers. So I'm gonna leave this in for about 3 to 5 minutes again, so that the vegetables can cook down just a little bit, because the goal to this is you want your vegetables crunchy. You don't want it mochi, so you want it crunchy enough in this dish. So we mix it in well, and I covered it up. And by the time I come back and show you, I'll show you what it looks. Then I'm gonna go ahead and plate it for you, and we can enjoy this wonderful peppered gizzard together. My people, I'm telling you, this is something that when somebody come and visit you, just put a little bit in a plate and give them a glass of red wine, or you give them a nice pineapple juice to go with it, and they'll be saying thank you. Or you can actually make it a whole meal and put it on rice, or you can put it with your French fries, or whatever dish. You can always use it as a protein in your dish, okay, in your meal. So please try this and let me know what you think. I really like this dish. Okay, and this pepper gizzard is ready. Yes, this is looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and plate it and show you what it looks like on the plate, okay? Again on this episode of Tolu Cooks. This is our own pepper gizzard. This is Tolu's recipe. This is how I love to cook my peppered gizzard. See how beautiful and colorful this dish looks. And honestly speaking, I have this on a bed of rice. This, if I can eat this, you should be able to, and I cannot handle too much pepper, but for this particular dish, honestly speaking, let me try it for you. This is good. This is good. Please try it out and let me know what you think. This is how I love to cook my pepper gizzard. If you want it more soupy, you can put in a little bit more tomato puree and it becomes more soupy, but I love it this way. And you can always skip the pepper. You don't have to use the habanero and the jalapenos. You can just use all sweet pepper and you will arrive at the same result. It's always a wonderful time to be in the kitchen cooking for you guys and sharing my recipe with you. Please remember to hold on to your faith, love your family, and don't let go of the wonderful, beautiful friend. This is the tree of life and it keeps us all going. I love you, I love you, I love you. Remember to like this video and the other ones I've done. Subscribe to my channel and please share my videos. You have to encourage me so that I can keep bringing you wonderful recipe from Tolu Cooks. I love you. See you in the next episode.